Babe, I couldn't afford to stay there. I had no idea. Dubrovnik is insane. Like, oh yeah, the price of everything. It's like being in Disneyland because it's this kind of pot boiler of a community where people pop in from cruise ships. I don't think it's intended that anyone stays there for more than 24 hours.
I got you.
So, yeah.
I don't remember it being expensive. I remember, what do I remember? I remember the old town, that was beautiful.
So pretty.
And the marina, and that's what I remember. Just really tasty food, I remember as well.
Wonderful seafood, like so good. We went to a cute pasta place. This was new on me. They did like Negronis and Aperol Spritz and stuff. But because they made their own pasta, the straw was a dried pasta tube, like a penne, but really long. It was so cute. It was so cute. Yes. Loved it. Loved it. But yeah, lovely, gorgeous place. Did you do the thing with the gargoyle? Do you remember this?
I remember something about a gargoyle.
There's like a chunky gargoyle after the first Pile Gate. I don't even know how you say it, but you're meant to run up to it and stand on it and like flatten yourself against the wall like Spider-Man, and then you get good luck. No, and I decided the only thing I would get, no, absolutely not, because I would not get good luck. I would get a trip to the hospital. So I gave it a little pat on the head and thought that will have to do.
That'll help. That'll be just a sprinkle of luck. Is all
the guys did it. They got all the luck.
Well, Charlie's set for life.
Yeah, he's golden. He's absolutely, he's fine.
Sorted. Amazing.
Well, it being Friday, I have got a story for us today.
Let's do it.
Shall we begin it?
Yes, please.
Okay. How are you, Vicky? Hello.
Hello. Hi,
I went unconventional there. I don't know what happened. What rogue?
I do wonder about our entries and our exits.
Yeah, do you think we need to mix it up?
Maybe we need something a bit snazzier. I don't know. We'll have to brainstorm. What should
we'll have a workshop.
Be? Yeah, a little workshop day with coffee and cake, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know where we could go is the Tudor farmhouse. That'd be great.
Oh my God. No, it's not his fault. Flippin' Amazon. I specifically requested a delivery tomorrow to avoid this, and the turds have brought it today. But I think they've just left it by the gate, with all being lucky. Sorry about this, Vicky.
Sorry, don't apologize.
Absolutely infuriating. Here I am, staring through my doorbell camera. Genuinely, I'm like, please just slow your roll. I don't want this. I specifically do not want this today. Yes, they've left it on the driveway. Yes. Okay. So we are good to go. No, it's like a weed sprayer. And I'm like, I don't need this same day. Let's just all calm down a little bit. But, you know, one extreme or the other.
This is the way the world
I want it all to slow down.
I want slow living.
You mentioned the Tudor farmhouse as a place for a coffee, cake, and pod entry nice brainstorming.
Wine. Yeah, let's do it. Let's pick it in.
I'm in. I am all in.
We just had all the treats.
Love the idea. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Ruth First, who is a journalist and a scholar and a revolutionary. So to get into her world a little bit, we'll start with a question, which is, what does it take for a writer to be genuinely dangerous to a government? And like not just annoying or writing a strongly worded letter, but like actually dangerous. So much so that the government will harass and arrest and ultimately assassinate them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a heavy one today. We are talking about a journalist named Ruth First, who was born in Johannesburg in 1925. And she was killed by the South African apartheid police in 1982. And I think, although it is heavy and it is sad, it's the kind of courage and sacrifice that deserves remembering. So today, let's meet her.
Oh my God. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Sources for today are the Ruth First Trust website, a South African website article about the revolutionary life and times, which I quite like, a website dedicated to Nelson Mandela for reasons that will become clear, and a website called The Tricontinental, which memorializes her as well. So if you can, picture the kind of household that Ruth First grew up in. Her parents were founder members of the Communist Party of South Africa. Her father was from Latvia and her mother from Lithuania. And there's a quote here that kind of summarizes the sort of childhood influences in her home.
Ruth grew up in a household full of lively political discussions with people of different races and class backgrounds. The world outside her home was deeply and violently divided by race, class, and gender, but Ruth was born into a very different home, one in which the full humanity of everyone was consumed. The profound disjuncture between her family life and the world outside instilled a deep commitment to fighting racial, patriarchal, national and class oppression and exploitation.
So,
So there's product of your environment is what I'm
product of
guessing.
your environment. And like, it goes to show that even in a time and a place where that environment is incredibly rare. I mean, we're talking about 1920s, 30s South Africa or,
Mm.
or Britain or America. That would be incredibly rare, but it was
Okay.
enough to be foundational for her. That
Right.
thing about the full humanity of everyone is assumed. It's really straightforward, but it's incredibly fair, and it made her who she became. So she went through her schooling in South Africa, ultimately enrolled in the University of Witwatersrand in 1942. Yeah,
Cool
the
name.
pronunciation, or sorry. She's 17 years old when she enrolls in uni, and she's already a member of the Young Communist League. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The nickname, so the nickname for the uni is Wits, which I think is adorable.
That sounds cool, actually.
It does.
You
At
imagine that on a
Wits.
sweater. Yeah.
Wits. At Wits, she's hanging out with Nelson Mandela.
Oh,
She's
casually.
hanging out with this other guy called Joe Slovo, who, Nelson Mandela obviously needs no introduction. Joe is a guy who she'll go on to marry.
Cute.
And in time, he starts doing really important work for the anti-apartheid movement within South Africa. So for now, just let it be enough to say we've basically got the entire South African liberation movement just hanging out in the student union. So,
Damn.
yeah, not so shabby. Ruth graduated in 1946. She had first class degree. She studied sociology, anthropology, and economic history, which is a powerful combo if you're going to be analyzing and criticizing the government, you know?
It's a fascinating combo, that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty heavy going. I'm sure she was,
She sounds so
yeah,
intellectual.
she
Yeah.
must have
Like
been,
a
and
debater.
launched herself directly into journalism. And she was quite successful being that intelligent and articulate debater. She worked hard. She wrote well. She was promoted repeatedly and ultimately became the editor of a newspaper called The Guardian in Johannesburg, and later on its successor, which was called New Age. And she kept that post for 17 years. So she was consistent. She was not writing the kind of 1940s cozy lifestyle pieces that women were typically assigned those days, and sadly, even now. She's kind of out there and she's making enemies in the best possible ways because she's exposing scandals. There's mass exploitation of workers in farm labor. She's writing about the suppression of protest. And she's kind of got this approach of deep research, which you would expect for someone with her degree, but also being boots on the ground. She goes out, she meets people, she talks to the people who are directly affected by these situations. And the papers she's writing for are being read by the exact people who are exposed by these articles. And
Okay.
also the people who vote for or against those people. So it's
This is the
powerful
power of
stuff.
it's the power of journalism, right? 100%.
Exactly.
It reminds me a lot of Nellie Bly, like very
Yes, yes.
similar expose kind of
I mean,
journalism.
I don't want to be cheeky, but I like to think they would both be thrilled by that comparison. That's a really
Yeah.
good, good compliment. So yeah, she's doing all this, and just as a bit of a side job, she's also editing a political journal called Fighting Talk.
Hey.
Yeah, she did not rest on her laurels. She also helped to set up the Congress of Democrats in 1953. So she contributed to a piece of legislature called the Freedom Charter, one of the central documents of the anti-apartheid movement. It's yeah, oh, it's got the same DNA as the spirit of her childhood home. And there's a quote
Mm.
here that sort of summarizes the goal.
We, the people of South Africa, declare for all our country and the world to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of all the people. Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
good quote.
she's coming after the people in power.
Mhm.
Oh, so I've written a little side note as well. And despite being one of the people to draft this charter, she was unable to attend its formal presentation because of a government banning order, which basically meant the apartheid laws barred her from attending any public gatherings or political meetings. So
Just her?
anyone who they thought was a threat to sort of law and order as they would see it. So anyone who is a threat to apartheid
To the
in
regime, against the regime.
yeah. So yes, she was unable to go to the meeting about the thing that she helped found. But hey, that
That's weird.
is, yeah, it's the least of it, to be honest.
Okay.
In 1956, for example, she is one of 156 people in the anti-apartheid movement who were arrested by the government for treason. Nelson Mandela was also picked up in the same purge. The trials went on for 4.5 years. And in the end, after those 4.5 years, all 156 people were acquitted because the entire thing dissolved. The state had no evidence whatsoever. It was just an intimidation tactic and a temporarily whip these agitators off of the street and get them squared away in jail. That
Okay.
was the
So
goal.
they had a list of 156 people who they thought, oh, these are not on our side. They're not what we want. And they just like a register,
Yeah, exactly.
scoop them all up. Okay.
Troublemakers. And I suppose what I've realized as I'm talking now is that I'm assuming a knowledge of apartheid, which I think probably is a fair assumption, but the nuts and bolts of it is that the white governing classes took a role of supremacy over the native black Africans and said, you know, we run this place. You don't get a vote. You don't get a protest. You don't get to say, we tell you. And
Mm.
it stripped people of land. It stripped people of legal rights. And so people like Ruth First and her colleagues were trying to push back against that. And obviously the people who were ruling in that way had a really strong vested interest in not letting change happen. And over the course of the decades, the outside pressure and the inside pressure to change that grew and grew. And the more the pressure to change came along, the more desperate the government became. So, for
Okay.
example, there's a quote here about something called Sharpeville that happened in 1960. This is quite sad.
In March 1960, the South African police opened fire on a crowd of demonstrators in the township of Sharpeville, killing 69 people and injuring nearly 200 more. The massacre outraged black South Africans, leading to a radicalization of anti apartheid organizations such as the ANC and a ruthless crackdown on dissent by the whites only government. Ooh, it's when they stop the demonstrating, isn't it? It's when you're not even allowed to like stand on a street and say, "Ooh, it's a red flag."
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of ultimately it's had the exact opposite effect because what they were hoping for is well, presumably they were hoping for squashing that rebellion and kind of showing people if you turn up to protests, we are going to be meeting you with violence. And
Yeah.
what it actually caused,
Like ice this year, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
trying to rule through fear, the end effect here at least was that a peaceable protest group, the ANC, had an offshoot group split off and turn to armed conflict because they have taken the view, if you are going to be violent to us, we cannot afford to be nonviolent. We have to step up and meet you where you are.
I see the
So
logic. Yeah.
that's kind of where we are in this story. This group, I'm going to try for the pronunciation, Kanta Wasiswe, which means spear of the nation. It's a direct response to decades of nonviolent protests being met with escalating state violence and mass arrests. And one of the founders of the Spear of the Nation is Ruth's husband, Joe Slovo.
Yeah. So she's like at the epicenter.
She is
And she was at home in her
right at the front
childhood.
lines.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's working closely with this splinter group, and she's helping them to establish their infrastructure. She is managing this illegal journalism and propaganda wing of the group. And ultimately, she ends up getting arrested again in 1963. And this happens back at the Wits Library, of all places. She gets scooped up, thrown into solitary confinement for months without any charges or
What?
legal advice. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
And get this, that is perfectly legal under South African apartheid. They had this thing. Yeah.
She was just picked up and thrown in.
Yeah, no charges, no legal representation, and
Wow.
they can detain you under the apartheid law for 90 days of interrogation without charge or
90?
representation. 90. Yep.
Whoa.
So you can see the entire mechanism of the
So much
state.
can happen in 90 days. Oh
It's
my
insane. It's such a
God.
long time, but it's not designed to be fair. It is
Yeah.
by design meant to squash rebellion, because the fear of being scooped away from your life for 3 months should,
Yeah.
in theory, be enough for anyone to go, I cannot risk that. I cannot let that happen. So unfortunately for the people doing these things, Ruth wasn't one to take it lightly. She ended up turning that experience into a book called 117 Days, which was published shortly after. The BBC adapted it, so this is kind of becoming a thing on the world stage.
Yeah.
It's her record of what happened to her, but also like how she refused to be broken down by it. It's
Oof,
how
sounds a good read.
she kind of personifies this resistance. But it does have its effect, because eventually she's forced out of South Africa entirely. She is given an exit permit, which I think is like some sort of visa that allows you to leave.
Don't come back.
I bet they, yeah, exactly. I bet they were like, please, let us help you.
We should have them. Please just don't return.
So she goes to London at this point with her 3 daughters, who are, they're called Sean and Gillian and Robin, and they're 14, 12, and 10.
She's a mum, sorry, at this point.
She's a mum at this
so your
point,
mum's
which
just been scooped up and popped into jail
for 3 months.
no reason.
And your dad is working in the same really dangerous field. So what, you can understand why as a family they thought, okay, we need to be safe and move away and be free to talk about these things.
And that's such an informative age as well, 10, 12 and 14 to have
It
that
really
happen to you.
is. I'll tell you what, though, they obviously admired her, because all 3 of them went on in careers in writing and in filmmaking. So
yeah, the influence was strong.
yeah, they definitely must have admired her. And so Ruth then comes to Britain. She becomes the major figure in Britain in the 1970s for the anti-apartheid movement, raising awareness. She's a lecturer at Durham University, and this becomes her most prolific period as a writer. She's writing about military coup in Africa, about how Western outside investment is propping up apartheid. Yeah, still something that we need to be aware of today with the Libyan revolution. Yeah, it's not a problem that has gone away, but she's bringing awareness.
Sometimes you don't even know you're funding it, do you? Like
Right.
if you're buying products or if you're using petrol or whatever, you don't know what you're funding.
Exactly. There's a lot of I think it's easier than it was because of the internet, but at that time, her whole thing is to raise this awareness and say, are you okay with this? This is what is going on. Is this what you want? And so she's from the outside still working, and she's editing, writing for Mandela from a guy called Govan Becky. And she helped to found something called the Review of African Political Economy. And that's still going on now. It's all of this happening while working with these questions that a lot of people on the sort of liberal side of this political spectrum were completely sidestepping. Like, she was talking about the ways in which the Soviet and communist regimes were getting it wrong. She was talking about the way that women were often sidelined within socialist movements. And so she's getting a lot of pushback, obviously, from the apartheid party, but she's also getting a lot of pushback from within the left, within her own party, because she's sort of going, wait a minute, why are women not having a seat at the table? Why are we letting the Communist Party get away with abuse? You know,
this is
not correct.
Intersectionality comes into play, doesn't it?
Intersectionality and integrity. She's not just kind of going to go along with it because it's her side. She has a really consistent internal logic. She's this internal, this independent thinker. She's rigorous, and she's not especially interested in telling people what they want to hear, which is exactly the sort of person. Again, the Nellie Bly characteristics.
Yeah, I admire it. I admire it so much, having been groomed by corporate culture and by gently swaying people. You can't get anything done.
Yeah, more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yeah, I really do admire it. And we did this thing at work, and it's a bit like a personality test where you're either one color, you know what I mean? You
come okay.
And
I love stuff like this. I love it so much.
I found it so interesting. And it turns out my preference is not to be with people who are directive and who will just tell you straight down the line and just, very boom, here it is. But I think that's because I've been in that world for so long. I've learned and honed this language and these delicate ways of ecosystems that are big organizations. And I think, actually, I don't know how much is true and how much is that's my work persona. That's what I do at work.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting. So when you were like vigorous, like she's not interested in telling you what you want to hear, I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean?
I think you and her would be fine. I think she's not coming after you. You're cool. She's on your side. She's on the side of good. But I think there is something to be said, just for balance, that if a person has that really direct, this is how it is, blah, 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 that doesn't really have a lot of room for humility or compromise, or we all see the world slightly differently. So it can be quite difficult to deal with. Yeah, like just we all have different perspectives. Maybe hear mine before you tell me what the truth is. But yeah, okay. You can see that.
Yeah. Luckily most of our team was very the other colours, so like green and chill, or yellow and happy, or whatever. So
I'm intrigued by this. I'm gonna have to look this up.
It's like you'll have done something similar before. It's like Jung and
the Enneagram stuff.
INFP and all that.
Love it.
It's just a slightly different look at it. But yeah, you'll have seen it. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was interesting.
I think Ruth is definitely coming across as an maybe an ENTJ, a thinking, judging extrovert.
Thinking, judging. She is thinking
both
and
barrels. So catch this, after all the stuff we've just heard about her having to flee to the UK, and she does this amazing thing in 1977. I think she's been out of the country, living in Britain for just over a decade and a half now. She decides to move back to South Africa. Specifically to Maputo, which is the capital of this newly independent Mozambique. And she's going to direct the Center for African Studies at a university there. It's a risky move. It's incredibly risky. But when asked about her reasons, there's a quote here of how she explained why she decided to do it.
So I haven't seen the quote. My guess is because it's her homeland. and that's okay. Like if you were, what did you say, 12 years later, 10 years later? Yeah, I'd want to go home. I'm not being funny. Britain and South Africa, very different vibes. Very different. And all right, it's like safer and whatever. But if you've got a calling and your home and your whole childhood is protect your homeland, you're going to want to go back, aren't you?
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
sorry.
she's braver than me, but yeah, it
Let's
turns
have
out
this
yes.
quote. I count myself an African, and there is no cause I hold dearer. Told you.
Exactly what you thought. Absolutely called it. So she goes back to her home and trains students in the kind of research methods that she has used herself. She's running these large field studies about agriculture and the state, which might not sound exceptionally political, but it really, really is, because you're giving people the tools to correctly analyze the workforce and the fairness of the distribution of wealth. So she's deeply interested in these things.
Yeah, I
Um,
like it.
yeah, she's doing a participatory study of Mozambican miners in South African gold mines, which ultimately was to become a published work called Black Gold, which was considered her masterpiece.
Wow.
And is still held up as one of the finest examples of activist research. So, using the facts to reveal larger political structures that are structurally unfair.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is kind of the key to her legacy. This piece, this activist research thing. There's this book that was recently published called Research and Activism, Ruth First and Activist Research. And the authors talk about how First embodied this approach, not just kind of critical research, but activist research, not just describing oppression, but directly trying to challenge it and end it. So there's this lovely quote here from a guy called Paulo Jordan, who was one of the members of the African National Congress Party. Yeah.
Comrade Ruth First was outstanding because she had taken to heart Marx, where he famously said, "The philosophers have hitherto only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it." So she's like doing next level, isn't she? She's
Yeah.
like,
She's not just kind of intellectualizing and going, oh, this is really interesting. She's actively going, what are we going to do about this shit? It's not okay.
yeah, sounds my kind of
So,
gal.
yeah, she's a go-getter. She did make people uncomfortable, as you said. This ANC leader of many years standing, Ronnie Castrels, put it this way: that her model was theory grounded in practice, and this kind of insistent on the concrete analysis of the concrete situation. It remains incredibly important now, and not just in South Africa, because as we know, there are so many places in the world where people are still
Yeah.
struggling with all of the issues that she was incensed by. So we have Ruth. She's back in Africa. She's doing this scholarly work, and she moved back, what did we say, in 1977.
Did she move her family back as well, I guess?
Do you know, I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I imagine she would have done, because her kids, some of the children at least, would have still been quite young, but I don't know. In a way, because of what happens next, I kind of hope not. When we get to 1982, on the 17th of August, Ruth First opened a parcel at her desk at work, and it was a bomb, which subsequently was proved to have been sent by the South African Security Police.
Wow.
She was 57 years old, and she was killed.
It went off.
It went off. And to show the effect that her life had, even in her own lifetime, her funeral was attended by 3,000 people. The effect of her death on the anti-apartheid movement was summarized in a quote here from a guy called Moses Mabhida, which was read at her funeral.
The bomb that took Comrade Ruth's life was intended to deprive our movement of the services of one of its most gifted militants. We openly acknowledge the exceptional gravity of the loss to us caused by her death. But we equally proclaim that her immense contribution to our movement will never be lost but will help to guide our actions and inspire our militants in years to come.
So there's an optimism, or a defiance maybe is a better word there, that, you know, you can take her from us, but you can't take her approach, and you can't take away what she set in motion. And just to get the really unpleasant part of this out of the way, in the year 2000, two police officers were granted amnesty, not prosecution. They were given amnesty by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission for her murder, which is, it's a really horrible, long side conversation. We're just going to draw a line under it there and move on to the fact that, much like the quote there from Moses Mabida, her memory is held up by the people who carried on the fight against apartheid. And so there's a nice quote here from Nelson Mandela.
Ruth spent her life in the service of the people of Southern Africa. Her life and her death remains a beacon to all who love liberty. Ugh. And it's 2000.
Yeah.
2000. They
So
got a pardon in 2000. That's
yep, as
insane.
part of a wider act to balance out. And yeah, it is murky and complicated, and I'm sure I haven't got the intellectual capacity to do it justice, even if I had an entire podcast to do it. So I will bow out of that conversation now. But on the face of it, it just sucks. And yeah. So anyway, let's talk instead about the life's work that went on after her death.
Sorry, just to back up. I know you want to move on.
No,
I'm reacting first time.
I get it.
She was at her desk. So she was at work, and she was like providing society with, you know, a service, and she was like an active member. She wasn't just sat trolling on her keyboard. You know what I mean? She was out there doing that research, doing that work, doing that journalistic stuff. And then boom, it's just that blink of an eye at your desk.
I know.
At your desk.
And as you said, she's not just a militant, she's a mother, she's a human being. But the fact that they treated her with war tactics shows how they thought about her. They thought about her
as a soldier,
as a military enemy, and they took illegal and wrong action with that mind space. And so all she did was write articles and do scholarly research, but it goes to show how powerful it is. And they were scared, and they should have been scared, because her work was foundational to things like the abolishment of the pass law system and the end, ultimately, of apartheid. So the things that she protested about the segregation of Black South Africans and the way that the white ruling party was running things, they were effective tactics. They just needed time to play out. So apartheid, in
her lifetime, right? As well.
Well, sadly, no. She died just before.
No, I meant like, sorry, if she hadn't had been established,
they would have been in her living. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah. So the pass law system, which controlled the movement and work permissions of Black South Africans, was abolished in 1986. And apartheid officially ended in 1994, which is the same year in which Nelson Mandela began his first term of South African presidency.
Oh my God.
So she did not live to see those huge strides that her comrades made, but her words, her friends, her you know, uni mates, who were just dreaming in a lounge about what they may achieve. Her work paved the road. So yeah, I mean, she's a lot of things. She's the journalist, she's the activist, she's the mother, she's an organizer, and usually many of those things at the same time. And the state killed her.
Yeah. It also shows the power of universities and higher education, actually. It shows that allowing people in their space to thrive and think and feel out and make connections and all that kind of stuff, which,
And yeah, meet like-minded people.
yes, actually, sometimes something special comes out of those friendships and those, like you said, like-minded minds gelling.
While they're still young enough to be optimistic and energetic,
Yeah,
like,
and hopeful of change, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, go higher education. That is a good advert.
Go higher education and go journalism. So yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, this we're drawing to the end of the thing. I think
The
the
thing.
the the thing, the pod. I
Thing.
think what I would like to say in conclusion, I suppose, is that Ruth First obviously fought for the country she loved. She obviously lost her life in that battle, but in doing that, she pioneered this approach to journalism that said that when we see things that are wrong, we can choose to record and report them, or we can choose to just refuse to look away. And whenever we do that, we're honoring the memory of people like her who gave their lives to try to present the truth and to make life a fair place where the essential humanity of everyone is assumed. Um,
Yes.
and there's a lovely quote for her from her here that I'd like to end on, and that is just that our greatest weapon against injustice is knowledge.
I love that.
Yeah, you can't say fairer than that,
Yes.
can you? So
That's a t-shirt. We
there we
should
have
add
it.
that on a
Yes,
t-shirt.
actually, I think that's
Yeah,
a lovely idea.
I love
So
that.
yes, Ruth First, an
Ruth
incredible,
First.
fiery woman.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I had no idea. Also, I was thinking throughout that a little theme. Always write your stuff down. Do you write a diary?
Oh no,
No,
no.
but people write things down, and it's really important.
Yeah, I have some
My
really
diary would be
strange
very dull.
relationships to writing stuff down. So do you keep a diary?
No, but I what am I doing? I don't know. It just shows that I was just thinking the last lady with the burrite and her orangutans.
I think I'm really attracted to these writers, these women writers. That's an interesting thing. I wonder if in today's age, our written legacy is often the messages that we send to our friends and loved ones and the sort of social media posts that we make and things like that, that we are kind of diarizing our thoughts and our day in that way.
In new
Um,
mediums.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, very easy to lose, and they're really
Diff.
like ephemeral, and that's unfortunate. A friend of mine has all of the diaries of her either grandmother or great grandmother from Sweden, and she read them at some point and wrote a book based on.
Yes, this is what I
Isn't that
mean.
cool? I mean,
Yes, it's
what an
so
amazing
cool.
gift for her to be able to understand her grandmother's life in that
Yeah.
way.
My author friend up the road, so she's a very successful author. She's got 2 series of books. She's very cool, and she says if she gets writer's block, because she's a historical crime author, fiction, if she gets stuck of what to do in her plot and how she's writing, she says she looks back to the newspaper of that day of what happened on that day
That's
for
so cool.
inspiration. It is so cool, and that's why you need to write stuff down.
There are just a million human stories
Yeah.
unfolding all around us at all times. What a cool, cool thing to do.
Yeah,
The power of the
documentation.
written word. I love it.
Yes,
Still not
that's
going to
my
write a diary
takeaway.
though.
I know, but are we the right people to be writing the diaries? Probably not. I don't know.
I think we're
But
probably pretty representative. I don't want people
yeah,
knowing my business.
yeah, you're right. You don't want to talk about the diamond smuggling. You don't
No.
want that written down. No, people will find out.
If I did that, I could afford to live in Dubrovnik. See,
That's
it's all
true.
come in full
Ah,
circle.
full circle. Delightful, delightful. Well, thank you very much, Cara.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening.
And thank you guys for listening as well. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of She Changed History. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got any ideas of women you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please comment on the socials or email us at shechangedhistory@gmail.com. Catch you next time.